All right, so in today's video, I have a very special and interesting treat for you. I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Sam McCown, who's running for Congress in District 1, which actually represents a lot of the Lowcountry, Beaufort County and parts of Charleston and more of the surrounding Lowcountry area. And again, I know a lot of the folks that watch this channel are not necessarily, on one side of the aisle or the other, so I'm not trying to alienate anyone, and I'm not necessarily promoting anyone. I just want you guys to get to know this gentleman because I think he has a really interesting story, and if he does end up in Congress, some of the decisions that he's going to be able to help make are going to affect the day-to-day life here in the South Carolina Lowcountry. So I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation. A few facts about him before we jump in and I bring him in. He is a physician, he's an engineer, he's a husband, he's a father. He was born and raised here in South Carolina. His father owned a small business. He earned a mechanical engineering degree from Clemson University. He went to medical school in Charleston. He was a medical director. He dealt with women's health, helping women through breast cancer. He's married to another doctor. He's got 4 children. He's been an active member of his church for 25 years. He's very active in scouting. I believe all 3 of his sons are Eagle Scouts. His daughter's actually currently attending medical school at MUSC. And he, of course, is running for Congress. So that's why I wanted to bring him on. So if all that interests you and you want to learn more about this gentleman or you want to hear his story, stick around because we are jumping in here in just a minute. Dr. McCown, thank you so much for taking your time out of your busy day to jump on this episode. And so you're running for U.S. Congress District 1, which represents a lot of the Lowcountry, Beaufort County, parts of Charleston. So thank you again for taking the time to come on.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation very much.
Absolutely. And again, I just wanted the person watching this video to be able to get to know you a little bit more as a person and just realize, you're a regular guy like everybody else, but you're looking to serve the community. And I thought by getting to know you a little bit better, that would be helpful to the person watching this.
Yeah,
so
I'm excited to be here.
All right, so let's get started. I've got a list of questions for you. So you grew up in South Carolina in a small business household. What lessons did you absorb early on from watching your parents work, serve, and really just show up in their community?
My father, his small business struggled all the time. And really, when Carter was in office and interest rates were really high, it crippled his business, really. He went many years. My mom was a school teacher. We went many years where we just lived off of her income, and he left his income, whatever he had, just to try to keep the business alive. So I know what it's like. At a young age, I helped my parents calculate the numbers to take out for taxes for the payroll and everything. So I saw it step by step and their struggles with it.
All right, so number 2, before medicine and leadership roles, you studied engineering at Clemson. How did that engineering mindset shape the way that you later approached medicine and even just problem solving in general?
Right. It's always hard to say whether in engineering attracts problem solvers or engineering teaches problem solvers. It's kind of a chicken or egg thing, I'm sure.
Okay.
But in engineering, certainly they teach you to solve problems and be on time. And I wanted to go to med school, but I was not confident that I could get into med school. And I didn't want to be a biologist or chemist the rest of my life. I was more of a math person. So I figured I'd have a better chance getting into med school if I did something more math focused. So I chose engineering thinking that would be a good backup plan if I didn't get into med school, then I could have something that I would be good at and like to do. So that's how I chose engineering. And they teach you problem solving. And a lot of engineers that go into medicine end up going into things like radiology, because radiology is my specialty in medicine. My group of 10 people, I think we had 2 mechanical engineers, an electrical engineer, and a physicist.
Wow.
Yeah.
And are you still a big Clemson fan?
Yeah, people always say, "Oh, you must be a big football fan because you went to Clemson." I went to Clemson for the academics,
Okay.
but I love football. I love college football. My wife went to Wake Forest, but she's a bigger college football fan than I am. So I go and enjoy the games, but I live by the 80-20 rule. 80-20 rule.
Yep.
Do you know that rule?
No.
That rule is don't let 80-20-year-olds ruin your weekend.
Okay.
So I go and enjoy the games, but if we lose, I still love the team and try to make the most of it.
And you can still be friends with people from University
Absolutely,
of South Carolina?
absolutely, yeah.
All right,
yeah,
good. All right, next question. When you look back, did you always see yourself as someone who would be a leader, or did leadership kind of grow on you slowly?
Yeah, I think some people want to be leaders or natural leaders. Some people don't want to be, and I was just always kind of in between. If I needed to be, I would. When I first started getting to leadership was probably Boy Scouts. When we went on big hikes, sometimes the group of scouts would have to pick a leader, and a lot of times they picked me to be the crew leader or something like that. As I got into engineering, same thing. We formed teams to solve problems. I remember we had to fix a textile robot. It was one of our big projects, and the team of engineering students, picked me to be the team leader. So I've always just felt like I stepped into it if I needed to. Served on a lot of boards, and sometimes they asked me to be, president or something like that. Right now, I'm the president of the MUSC College of Medicine Alumni Association board, and I was honored when they asked me to serve as president for that.
I actually debated asking you this question because I know this is a very personal question, but it was on your bio on your website, so I think it's something that maybe you're okay sharing about. You shared losing your sister at a young age was a life-altering moment. How did that experience shape the way that you think about responsibility, systems, service, or maybe how that just changed you as a person?
A death of a really close one in the family is one of those things I really think you can only sympathize with. You can only empathize if you've been through it. There's so many things that you can see people going through and feel like you experience it. But, my brother was in college, fell out of college. My father's hair turned gray in a month, and he really just lost interest in working hard, really, because he was trying to build a business for his family, and he lost his daughter. But I was also to see how our church really gathered around us, and the community was very supportive. I think in situations like that, it pushes some people further from God. For me, and seeing the reaction of my church and interaction with God, I think it brought me closer to Christ. And it did not lose my parents' commitment to the church. They were always committed to the church. They both taught Sunday school and tried to lead in various ways in the community, tried to help in the community, and that was natural for them, and they kept doing that. When other people in the community lost a child, my mom always remembered that all the community's right there for the first few weeks, and then they're gone. And even if she didn't know the people, she would wait until at least a year. She would remember the name, write down the address, and she would go visit the parents of the person that lost the child. She didn't do that for any credit to herself. She just knew, hey, a year later, these people are still suffering, but people aren't reaching out to them. So there's kind of a network of people like that. I've met other people, even on the campaign trail now, that tell me how they've lost a child, and they go try to reach out and help others later. So it's very moving when you see what community really does for community.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. So you chose medicine partially because of that experience. When you entered healthcare, what did you hope healthcare would be like, and what was it actually like?
Yeah, most doctors obviously want to go into healthcare because they want to take care of patients and deal with patients and enjoy patients. And you get to do that, but there is a lot of government overreach in healthcare that makes your job so much more difficult. I've always been a believer that small government's best for everybody, not just their wealthy or big businesses. I've always voted for small government because I think it helps poor people, not because I think it helps the wealthy. And it's kind of ironic, but in medicine the same way. So many times government or regulations would just appear and it interferes with your patient care. And I'm sure someone in an office somewhere thought it was a great idea, but it made your care worse, not better. I give an example of, I used to do lots and lots of procedures at the bedside, usually ultrasound guided procedures. And I only used one drug, be lidocaine on the tray and the syringe. The technologist or the nurse would get it ready for me. And I walk in the room and there's my syringe and the rest of my tools, and I did what I need to do. And one day you come in and there's a sticker on the syringe now labeling that drug of lidocaine, and there's a sterile Sharpie that they had to use to do it. And someone from above came up and said, well, all medicines have to be labeled, which is good for the anesthesiologist that's doing 10 different drugs. They're already labeling theirs. But I didn't need mine labeled because I was only using one. Yeah. Yet now we've got a sterile label, which I don't know how much it costs, and a Sharpie from the store might cost 99 cents, but a sterile one that's used one time is probably adding $20 to $50 to the patient's bill. Yeah, unnecessarily. So it's just government regulation and intruding. And there's other stories where it actually slows down the procedure and makes it worse too.
So you spent years diagnosing and helping treat women with breast cancer. How does walking alongside families that are going through that really tough time. How does that change the way that you see life in general?
Right when I finished medical school, as I was starting residency, my mom had been sick for a few months, and my dad said he wanted to send me her lab work. And I said, "Oh, don't do that. I'm just out of med school. I don't know anything." And she had been to 3 different doctors, and he sent me a lab work, and I looked at it for just a few minutes and realized she had multiple myeloma. So I diagnosed my mom with cancer, and I was the one to tell her that she had cancer on the phone. Her strength and the way she dealt with everything, she just had such a Christian heart and was like, "I've had a great life. I'm fortunate to be here." And if we had to convince her to do chemotherapy because she felt like, "Hey, I'm ready to let things take the course they are." But being around her, my sister's situation, and seeing other cancer patients, everybody handles it differently. Some people keep a smile on their face the whole time, and you don't know if they're just pushing it down inside or not. And some people wear their emotions on their sleeve. It's all the way, as doing procedures and as a radiologist, I didn't follow all the patients a long ways, but I just always try to make them comfortable for being there and what they're doing and answering the questions and treat them all humanely. And remember, nobody's a number. Everybody's got a life story behind them.
So moving on to more the business side of medicine, as a medical director, not just a physician, you're managing people, finances, systems. What frustrates you the most about large institutions?
Like I said, the top-down mentality sometimes in radiology is real frustrating because there's so much medical liability. I don't think people realize how much that adds to healthcare like it does car insurance. When I started radiology, we're trying to find one needle in a haystack, but by the time I ended, it was like trying to find a needle in 10 haystacks because other doctors are being encouraged to overscan people, over x-ray people to try to cover their legal risk. And there's just no disincentive for it. And compared to all the other countries in the world, we just have the highest medical liability. And it'd be nice to see some reform in that. I mean, people have talked about it forever. It hurts patients because it overutilizes systems, which makes there's an undersupply of physicians and clinical caregivers. So you're doing a lot of unnecessary exams, and it takes more time and expense away from doing necessary exams.
So let's move away from medicine for just a second. You're also an entrepreneur and an investor. What have you learned about how rules and incentives affect innovation and opportunity in the business world?
I always like to quote Charlie Munger. He has, if y'all don't know him, he's Warren Buffett's best friend of many years, and he had more good quotes and sayings than just about anybody, but maybe Thomas Jefferson. And he said, "Show me the incentives and I'll tell you the outcomes." And it's true. You need to look at processes and businesses that incentivize people well. I always want people to have a stake in what they're doing so that they want to do quality work and perform quality for the customer, so to speak. I think that's key to life. And I do some mentoring in the past, teaching young people and older people too, but especially young people are more interested in investing and such. Mm-hmm. And when I'm talking about entrepreneurship, I tell people the biggest thing is don't be scared of failure. You learn more from your failures, and most extremely successful people that you meet have failed a bunch. Some of them don't like to talk about it, but I think we've all failed, and it leads to more successes later in life.
Yeah, I love Charlie Munger too. I've got Poor Charlie's Almanac is one of my favorite books, and he does have some great quotes. And I do have a later question here, but I'll just go ahead and ask it now because I also have a similar passion of teaching young people about personal finance and financial responsibility. So you mentor young people on financial literacy. Why is that important to you?
I do think the younger we are, the better we learn. A 2-year-old actually learns better than a 10-year-old. It's amazing how much knowledge they can take in. And I see so many people that can't manage their own finances and are dependent on others. I think financial advisors are great. They help a lot of people, but a lot of people can't afford them. And I think the more you learn about finance early on, the better you'll be as an investor later in life. And you have an investment in the capitalist system, like they're trying to do a thing where now throughout the country where every newborn gets X dollars into a bank account so they can see and watch it grow. So I encourage that. With the first thing I say is this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. Try to teach people to invest long-term. And usually it's young men or women that are from good families. And I tell them the first thing, their responsibility of everything they learn here today is remember they're probably going to be successful in life. And they need to remember that success, wasn't free. And they were lucky to be in the situation they're in because they're born in the greatest country on earth. Yeah. And to give back to their communities. I feel bad. I think my parents did a lot better job giving back to their community than I did. I want to do more, but I had, a high bar set for me, I guess you could say, with my parents. But it's important for kids to learn investing. You're never too late to learn, and you'll manage your money better than anybody else will for you.
I agree 100%. And I think living in America is the golden goose. I mean, we're in the greatest country ever on the planet. I think that money doesn't, teaching young people about money doesn't solve all problems, but it does make some problems a lot easier to solve. And if you give me a choice of one or the other, I'd rather face my problems with a little bit more in my pocket than a little bit less. So, it's not a cure-all, but it is helpful. So you retired from medicine after a successful career, and a lot of people would say, why do you want to take on something harder now? What was that internal debate for you like when you were deciding that you're going to get into public service and run for Congress?
Yeah, I've never run for office before. Again, let's talk about the numbers of it. So if you take the South Carolina state budget and divide it by the number of people in state representation, and you take the federal government and divide it by the number of people representing, and then divide those two numbers by each other. I hope I didn't lose everybody, but the federal government spends 50 times as much. That's 5,000% more per representative. And I'm so thankful for good state and local leaders, but the problems I feel like come at the federal level. The way the Constitution was built, they intended for small federal government and the power to be in the states, and I just think you should always, anytime you can, press the power more local, because more local people know what they need, and the federal government can't do it for you. So I'm a big believer in shrinking the federal government. As to why, we touched on a little bit, born in the greatest country on earth, best time in history. Christ said, to whom much is given, much is expected. And my wife and I have talked about it, prayed about it extensively. And like she said, she's like, if we don't do it, if we don't step up, then look at what you end up with. I think a lot of the political process now weeds out good people. Good, successful people don't want to do it because they don't want to put themselves through that. There's probably a lot better people out there than me that aren't running because they have happy lives, and why would they want to put themselves through that? But I'm going to run, and if I win, I'll do my best to serve my country and bring us to a better place.
Or the scarier, sad part would be if you don't run, there could be somebody that would be bad for the country that would run.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
well, that's what she says. If we don't, look what you end up with. Because a lot of these politicians, it's just a career job for them. Our founding fathers wanted citizen legislatures, work in industry, work in the community, go serve in Congress, and then go back home to your civilian life, which is, I think, where the best ideas come from. I've been on a lot of boards, and typically they ask you to keep serving. And after 6 years, I usually term limit myself. I feel like, you've heard my ideas.
Yeah.
I'll move on and bring in somebody else's ideas.
So let's get personal again here. So you and your wife are both physicians. You've got 4 kids. You're really active in church. You're really active in scouting, really active in the outdoors. How do you stay grounded, balanced, everything with all that going on?
Yeah, we've been through that phase like so many people when we were middle-aged, I guess, where you have so many kids at home. And for parents out there that have 2 kids, they know they can play man-to-man defense. But when you go to 3 kids or more, you're in zone defense, So we leaned on the community a lot. My wife and I would divide and conquer on the weekends. She'd go to a track meet and I'd go to the soccer meet or something like that, taking the kids around. And you lean on your friends, and you make greater friends doing that. And she was always bashful to ask other people to take your kid for a soccer meet, but I was like, I like having other kids around and helping them, and I'm sure other people enjoyed helping us. So, but now I have a great wife and blessed to be with her. She's married 32 years, and she's anybody with a good spouse out there knows the good spouse keeps you grounded, so she's not going to let me slip up too much.
That's great. All right. So just a couple more questions. I know you've got a busy schedule, so I appreciate
No, I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
But what habits, personal habits, daily habits do you have that sort of help you stay focused with all the noise? And, I'm sure if this all works out, it's just going to get even more hectic and more chaotic in your life. What sort of daily habits do you have just to kind of keep you on the straight and narrow?
I do try to eat healthy. I'd like to exercise more. I do try to read the Bible regularly, although I'm guilty of not doing it every day. And really, as long as I'm spending some time with my wife, I'm happy. I love when I can to get out and hike and boat and stuff like that. But really, I think Christian beliefs and a strong family keeps you grounded.
Yeah.
And if my wife won't, then my kids will.
And I think I saw a picture of you on your website throwing a cast net.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So you do a little fishing.
Yeah, have in the past, not recently, but yeah, usually when I'm throwing a cast net, I'm trying to teach my sons how to do it. That's right. Got to catch your bait, right? That's the best bait. A good fisherman taught me, don't buy your bait from the store, because what the fish out there are eating is what's there. So if you can catch the bait, then you can feed the fish. So.
That's cool. Yeah, my wife actually taught me how to throw a cast net because her family goes back like 5-6 generations in the Lowcountry, and I moved in from the outside.
Yeah.
So she had to teach me how to do it. So
I did not know growing up. I had to figure it out and watch some videos. Yeah.
Very cool. All right. So for somebody who's watching this right now and maybe they feel disconnected from institutions, whether it's healthcare, education, government, which you're getting into, what could you tell them to give them hope that things can still improve.
Yeah, people always want to say things are worse now than ever and things are more divisive than ever. And it certainly seems like that within my lifetime. But when you read about history, our country has hit some really, really divided times in history, some strikingly divided. I mean, think about the Civil War. That was horrendous, But so I do think you always have to keep hope. And people say to me, why are you running for office? There's no way y'all can get anything done. And if we take that attitude, then everything fails. So we've got to take the attitude that we're going to try to fix it and make a difference. So that's the attitude I take to it.
2 questions left. And I know this is one that we were both kind of scratching our head like, I don't know a good answer to this, but let's see what we come up with. So you're running for District 1. It covers Beaufort County. It covers a lot of the Lowcountry, parts of Charleston, Hilton Head, Bluffton, Beaufort.
Berkeley and Dorchester.
Okay.
Yep, and little pieces of Colleton and Jasper.
Okay, a little bit. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm in, I think, District 6. So
okay.
This is,
That's right.
Anyway, so for people that are watching this, maybe they're living in New York, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, California, and they're thinking about moving here. What misconceptions do you think they might have about the South Carolina Lowcountry, or maybe something they might misunderstand about it before they come?
Some of them are surprised when it's cold like it is today.
Yep.
But it's all relative. It's much less cold here than it is most of the nation right now. Yeah, I think it's a beautiful place year-round. Sometimes they're surprised about the no-see-ums because we do have no-see-ums that fight pretty well. Mosquitoes can be as bad in October as they can be in June. You have to ask them what surprises them the most, I guess.
All right. Last question. So when families are moving here, a lot of times they're looking for more than lower taxes and warmer weather. They're looking for a different quality of life. And so from your perspective, what does South Carolina offer that makes people fall in love with it?
Yeah. And go back to the prior question. In some places you go to in the country, if you're walking down the street and you make eye contact with somebody, you smile or nod your head or something.
Yeah.
And they turn and will look away really quick. In South Carolina, no, we always smile and nod your head too. We're not trying to pick your pocket or anything.
Yeah.
So realize if you come down here, everybody's not strange. You are,
So that's one of those things that you actually love about South
Oh
Carolina.
yeah, I do believe it is a slower lifestyle in a lot of ways. I mean, we have a lot of fast-paced businesses too, but that surprises people. And every community, you're only a few removed people from someone that is a friend of a friend, it seems like. That's kind of what social media has taught us. And I've had, I was just talking to someone earlier today, said I've been here for 10 years and I still don't feel plugged in. She was, a military wife, so she was plugged in the military community, but only halfway plugged into the local social community, And it does take time to develop friends, but just put yourself out there and get involved with a church or a civic group or something and meet people. And there'll be people you don't like and people you do like. But I think most people have a good heart, so I love meeting new people. The other thing I think that's underappreciated is just the beauty of the marshes and boating. I love to boat and hike. The waterways around here are fantastic. So if you can get a boat or join a boat club, do.
And learn how to throw a cast net.
And learn how to throw a cast net if you like to fish, for sure.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend time with me and spend time with the person watching this today. And best of luck. And you've got an appointment tonight, so I don't want to keep you any longer, but really appreciate it. Enjoyed getting to know you and hope you guys enjoyed learning his story and getting to know him a little bit as well. So,
yeah, thanks for having me, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for staying till the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I hope you enjoyed getting to know Dr. McCown more. And if I can help you find your own Lowcountry lifestyle, give me a call, send me an email, shoot me a text, or you can always book a Zoom call by going to lowcountrylifestylesteam.com. And I'd love to meet you in person at some point, but if not, I hope to at least see you on the next video.